We've got rates that are up and competition is still really strong. So what are you doing to keep your buyers in the game in this market? What's happening? I'm J.C Agajanian, broker associate with the Whissel Realty Group at EXP, and we are bringing you the recap of the Monday morning mastermind as we do every week. It's put on by the Fast Forward Movement, which is a phenomenal group of like-minded agents located throughout the country, bringing tons of value, tips, and how to do better in their business every day. So today we're talking about a couple main topics. One of them, how to keep your buyers in the game in this difficult market. We've got rates that are up. We've got still significant competition in the market. And it's easy for buyers to just throw their hands up and say, forget about it. I don't want to do that. So we're going to have that conversation. And then a little bit later, we're going to dig into the other side of this equation, which is finding listings in this market where it seems like there is a major gridlock, a logjam, if you will, of people with great rates from a few years ago who don't want to sell and get crappy rates that are available today. So we're going to have that conversation as well. So first of all, let's get into keeping buyers in the game in this market. Some of the main ideas and conversations that we had about addressing this objection and the general mindset the buyers eventually adopt after encountering some difficulty, to kind of have the conversation like, listen, values have come down, but it seems like that's stopped, right? Because competition is up again and inventory is down. So we believe prices for this recent cycle have bottomed and they're on the way up again. They're not going to go hard charging up, but they are moving in the upward direction. And, rates are up now, but they are likely going to come down. So we have to just explain what to anticipate in the market and say, look, now is still a good opportunity. We're at the bottom of this next slowly building up cycle that we're going to be leading into after the correction that we just experienced last year. Time to go ahead and get in now and consider buying what you can afford with the opportunity to refinance in the near future. So that was one general kind of reframing and conversation that we discussed having with your buyers in that situation. Another idea is to just kind of lean into it and be like, yeah, let's figure out how to be able to still move forward and be defensive at the same time. So maybe we get as little money into this property as possible so that you can keep as much as you can on the side as a safety net. This is for people who maybe have fears of the recession or economy turning down or any other unknown that may be coming. Along the same line of thinking, hey, there are actually credit unions out there that are doing lookalike VA programs. You can get 100% financing with some programs. There is that Rocket Mortgage program that we've heard about, which will help someone get in with 1% down. I think they pay the other 2% or something like that. I don't usually work with Rocket Mortgage. I don't know them. But there's other ways, or even a simple 3% conforming loan, instead of a 10 or 20% down, will still be hedging their bets and keeping some of that money off to the side instead of putting it all into the property that may give them a little bit more comfort about moving forward. So that was another idea. Going back to rates being the primary issue, stepping them through the process, helping them understand the payment difference, really. So let's say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we're looking at a purchase price of this amount with this much down and a rate of 7%, gives you a payment of this much each month and this much out of pocket, right? So you just take the basic loan scenario that they're working with their lender. Say, okay, let's take all the exact same scenario and let's move that to a 6% loan instead of a 7% loan. You're going to save, looks like, figure out the math, right? $250, $300 a month, whatever the case may be. And then say, listen, is this worth waiting for this thing that needs to happen for you and your family in your life right now? All the other stars are kind of aligning. This is the real rub we're getting into. Is that worth holding off because of this, especially with the idea that we are likely going to be able to pick up that $250 or $300 or whatever the case may be in the near future with a refinance, right? So walking through the main differences of how much and come to realize that it's not as huge a difference as they may think in their mind by actually running the scenarios is another good way to help them keep things moving forward and just have numbers speak to them clearly about that. A final conversation, kind of a role play or a talk track that we went through was led by Kyle Whissel, who's one of the leaders of the Fast Forward movement. And it was a great kind of slow play way of going through this scenario with a potential buyer. So basically, the idea is you sit down, okay, Mrs. Seller, can we agree that we think values are going to be moving in the upward direction? If not significantly, at least maybe 1 to 3% in the coming year, and probably similar in the subsequent years. Okay, yeah, we think that we've probably bottomed out. We're not going to see things going down anymore. We're going up because of all this competition and difficulty with inventory. Cool. So let's say you go ahead and we help you buy right now. There's 3 things that are going to happen with interest rates, right? One scenario, they're going to skyrocket. Another scenario, they're going to stay where they're at. Third scenario, they're going to go down, right? Like there's only 3 things that can happen with rates after you make this purchase. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, like let's say we're 30 days down the road, you've closed escrow, and you're in a property, and rates start ticking up. Does that change the way you feel about this purchase? No, my mortgage payment doesn't change. Correct. Okay, cool. So either way, you're happy in your new home and you're moving forward. Cool. But let's look at the other thing. What if they go down? Well, shoot, that's a win. Because if they do go down, well, first of all, I'm going to be able to lower my payment. I don't have to take a higher payment if they go up because I've got my fixed rate mortgage. If they go down, I can refinance and I can capture some savings there. But there's more. If they actually do go down, what does that mean? All these other people who are saying the same thing that you were thinking about saying, I'm going to wait for these rates to come down, they're going to flood back into the market. And now we've already got a shortage of inventory over here and a surplus of demand over here. And now in this scenario, rates have dropped and even more people are coming in to this demand side of things. So what's going to happen to the market then? Okay, obviously rates are going to come down, more people are going to come in, more demand on these properties, values are going to go up even higher. Cool. How does that make you feel about the situation that you've just purchased right now? Even better, right? Yeah, not only am I saving money, but now my value is going up faster than anticipated. Fantastic, right? There's only 1/3 option that can take place, and that's the rates don't change. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, what happens if rates don't change at all? Well, I'm still got into my property, and I'm happy I did, and we're going to see some increases, but not significant over the coming years. Yes, exactly. So like just playing it out slowly and helping them understand by asking questions how they would feel about certain scenarios should help them get over the hump and realize this isn't as complicated. We cannot be obsessed with the unknown and fearful of what could or would happen, right? We have to just say, these are the things that are going to happen. These are the implications of those things happening. How do you feel about each of these scenarios? And then just make it simple, walk them through it, and then keep on moving forward. That's going to wrap up our conversation on that topic. We're going to move on to getting listings in this challenging market. As usual, we kind of like to go back to the basics with a lot of these conversations. We have to go back to looking at those big problems that we are here to help solve. You've probably heard it said before that we as realtors get paid to help solve other people's problems, and the proportion of our payment is directly relational to the proportion of the size of those problems that we solve. Go back to finding those problems. Are we looking for young families that are outgrowing their homes and need a bigger space? Are we looking for the elderly who need to get out of two-story homes and into a single story? Like, what are the problems that exist in our marketplace, and how can we go find them and then help to solve for them? Kind of a pull back, and like if you're thinking about where to put my efforts, my energy, think about what type of people you like to work with and what kind of problems you can help them solve, and then figure out a marketing strategy or a messaging strategy or a way of communicating, farming, cold calling, letter writing, whatever it is, digital. Get in front of those people that you've isolated that you want to work with. So that's one just kind of big picture that can work its way out into a specific strategy. Another one that's very direct is working with builders. You know, if you do some research and find people that have purchased land in the past 6 months or a year, find out what they're building. You know, are you building out 10 homes on this parcel that you just purchased, or is this some commercial application that you're building for your business? And I can write that off the list and keep moving forward. Figure out what people are doing before that's done. That's a great idea, right? So then you can actually start talking to them while they're in the process. You can help them cater to their marketing of how they're going to do things so that you can take that message to the people that are going to be their end users eventually. Start early. If they pitch a follow along series on social media where you're helping the public know that not only is this project coming, but peel back the curtain a little bit so you can see what the builders are doing. The effort it's taking downtown at City Hall, what's going on with pure grading, for example, before these lots are leveled out. Like, you can take the public from ground zero, literally, before they've even got any legal right to do anything on the property, all the way through these beautiful model homes that are ready for show, right? And if you can pitch that to a builder, they're probably going to pick up what you're putting down and like it and say, you're going to help me create awareness and build excitement around something long before we even need to get people in homes. That's a win for them. Figure out what they're building, see if you can help, how you can come alongside, and those are great ways that you can help. Speaking of new construction, there's other ways to go about it too. I mean, maybe you don't pick up a smaller project like we just described and help someone from ground zero, but maybe you're in a bigger project and there's a sales office and there are sales reps that are there to talk to people about helping buyers buy the product that they've got in inventory. Many of them don't have a plan for people who need to sell and are contingent. That's where you come in, right? So like, we can help them because the people that are working in the models, in the showrooms, in the sales offices, they're bound by a contractual agreement to work for that builder. They can't just go and sell a bunch of other real estate. So they can't just take this lead that they know is a listing that's going to sell in a heartbeat in order to help this buyer buy this brand new property and do it on their own. They've got to refer it out to somebody else. So why not have that somebody else be you? Become their resource and help them go through the process. Another way to get in kind of the back door and make these relationships is to make video content, right? So let's say you are just going around to various sales centers where you've got the model homes available for this new development, and you just come in and make friends with the salespeople, figure out who's in charge, and say, listen, I'm doing some social media content. I want to highlight this project. Tell me all the coolest things about it. I'm going to walk through. It's going to be really cool. Look, check it out. I get lots of likes and follows or whatever the case, pump yourself up a bit and do it. And then now you've got the relationship. Now you've got something that you've done of value, and you can actually say, listen, we get a lot of interaction. If somebody actually hits me up and they're interested in checking out one of these homes, let me get your contact information because I want to make sure that you're the salesperson who is here if I'm able to send somebody your way so that you can get that commission. Is that cool? Of course it's cool. They would be grateful for that, right? So now you're doing something for them on day one. And now you can go back around to what we said in the beginning, which is, what's your plan for 10, 15, 20% of time? There's got to be a lot of homes that also need to sell in order to buy the next home, right? So what's your plan for them? Let's talk about how we can be your resource for that and what we can do to make your life easier and to make everyone higher up within the development company happy that I am here as a resource for you as well. Go into it. Maybe you can get away, scot-free with just a referral agreement and not having to do anything. Sometimes maybe you give them a kickback of some sort, whatever the case may be. It's a new lead source. It's a new place where you can get business from probably multiple times throughout that year from one meeting. Now, obviously, that's not all going to happen in one day. You're going to have to go out. You're going to have to talk to these people. You're going to have to pop by. You're going to have to build that relationship, right? It doesn't happen overnight. But it's a great strategy that we just highlighted for you to go about doing that. An idea that was brought up is to just lean into the relationships you've already got even more to help generate more listings for yourself. And what does that mean? Well, you've got a buyer under contract. Things are moving quickly, as they always do. Take them out for lunch. Just say, hey, let's go chat through all this stuff. Or not. Let's take a break from real estate and just have a lunch and get together. How's everything going with the move and everything? They will bring up real estate. Or the same thing if you're working with a seller. Like, they're busy preparing to get the home for sale. Maybe you have some paperwork you need them to sign or something. Take them out for lunch. You don't be the one to bring up real estate, but it will come up. They will bring it up. It's what they do. That's how they know you. You are their realtor. And then when that happens, when they bring it up, simply communicate the need. Like, not everyone realizes how desperate we need sellers in this market, as opposed to just any sort of client or referral. I mean, frankly, a lot of people aren't even thinking about the fact that we could use their referrals in the first place, let alone what type of referrals we really need. So communicate that to them. Yeah, you'd be surprised, but we have a real hard time finding enough homes for sellers right now. Like, anybody you know thinking about making a move in the near future, it would be great if you could just start a three-way text. That's the best way to ask people to refer you to, by the way, three-way text. Ask them if they know anybody. Take the time to break bread, have lunch. Don't bring up real estate. They will do it on their own anyways, and then go from there. Past client work is another way to develop new listings. Obviously you want to continue to build that relationship with them. There's lots of different things that we do to stay in touch with our past clients. I've talked plenty in the past about doing the annual CMA that I do, and we have lots of client events. We have 4 of them every year that are a big deal. And as great as they are, renting out a whole movie theater or taking over a whole park and doing a barbecue with a food truck from In-N-Out, or all these cool things that we do, it's not really about the event. It's about the reason to pick up the phone and call the clients, to invite them to the event. It's about the card they get in the mail, inviting them to the event. It's about the email they receive from us, inviting them to the event. It's about us putting out communication, just saying, hey, here's something for free. We want you to be included. We're not asking for anything in return. That's the purpose of all these events, and that's the purpose of this other idea that came up this morning, which was a simple Happy Mother's Day sign that they went out and stuck in yards of all their clients, and they're going to come around and do it for Father's Day as well. It's just another touch that you can build out in your system of what you're doing throughout the year to stay in touch with your past clients. And this was a great idea. They didn't hire it out. There weren't a bunch of people paid by the hour or by the door to stick these little H-frame Happy Mother's Day signs in people's yards. They did it themselves. And guess what? They had meaningful conversation as a result of it, because they were showing up, they were putting a sign in the yard and saying hi to the people that they've worked with in the past. Great idea. One last thing to kind of help figure out where you might be able to pick up some listings is in the 55 plus space. Depending on what kind of community you're in, there's people that maybe still have their old homes or might consider selling the home they're in now in 55 plus communities. Believe it or not, like, we've heard firsthand accounts in our mastermind of people obsessing over newsletters and thinking that they're really great and loving the crossword puzzles and the Sudoku and stuff in them. And guess what? There's a ton of space to advertise, to create your own newsletter, to make that your thing, whatever the case may be. And now you're perceived as the person that sells all the homes in this area because you put out the newsletter. Like, this is the thought process, right? They like them. A lot of people hate them that are younger and busy and don't have time for that stuff. But when you're older and that's what you do, you actually appreciate it. We're going to leave it with that. Hopefully these 2 topics were helpful for you, figuring out how to keep the mental state and the motivation going for buyers to stay in the game in this market. And of course, creative, different ways to find new listings in this tough market. I hope there's something here that we discussed today that you can implement into your business this week. And as always, shoot me a DM right here. I'd love to chat with you or answer any questions you might have. Talk to you soon.